Assalamu alaikum. Tonight, as it has been announced, is the night which we shall call the night of Musa Kadhim Day, ascribed to our seventh Imam, Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, salawatullah. Before I come to that subject, and we speak about the life and time and the works of Imam, the month of Rajab has set in with many more events. One of them is commonly called Sufro. And the questions addressed to us are so many about this that I would like to make myself very clear. In certain parts of the world, we find that families do not even pay attention to daily prayers, do not even fast, do not even have any regularity in observing the laws of Sharia. Yet Sufro must be held at home. And if you tell them anything about this, they will tell you that it is very important, that it has helped me, that I have had so many difficulties in life, and whenever I held a sufra, or I intend to do so, or I make a vow, I have found myself relieved, therefore I believe in it. But the fact is that in the Sharia, which we call the law of Islam, which is based on Quran, Hadith, and other original sources, there is no room whatsoever, no mention whatsoever about Sufra anywhere. There is nothing like it. It has not been mentioned anywhere, nor does it have any root in history. We call it Sufra of Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam. But let us admit that gradually, from that little thing, it has developed into an institution which has no root in Islam. Now, before it becomes a subject of debate and any contradiction, I must make it very clear that as far as holding niyaz is concerned, in the name of any Imam, it is, of course, a work of thawab, and it is recommended. You can have it in the name of any Imam. But if you are looking at it as an institution, the way it is being looked by many of us, then there is nothing like that in Islam. For example, from one sufra of 22nd Rajab, so many sufras have emerged. So many. We find people holding sufra at home in the month of Shaban, in the month of Shawwal, in any month. And you ask them what is happening, they say, it is sufra at my house. And that sufra has no origin at whatsoever. But it has taken a shape. And then so many things have entered it. If you have been to any sufra, and I hope you have been, if you have not been, you will go to, inshallah, this year. You will find the attendance at sufra is sometimes twice the attendance of any other majlis. People fight for that niyaz. I don't know what they believe in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But I feel that there is some misunderstanding which must be clarified. In East Africa, whenever we went to sufra, sometimes just as we lifted a spoon full of kheer or sweet, suddenly you find a piece of 50 cents in the mouth. or a ring, what is called anguti or vinti. And those who collected most were the luckiest. And whatever they collected from that was treasured. If you ask them what it was, they used to say, this is the, what they call khirni vinti. All this is absolutely nonsense. It has got no root in religion whatsoever. It is bid'ah, and it is innovation which must be discouraged. Especially in this country. If you give somebody 50p or 20p in his mouth, and by any chance if a small child swallows it, then you will remember the day in the calendar forever, when you will be sued and you will have to pay for the surgical treatment given to the child or to whoever has swallowed. Whatever is not in Islam and is not in Sharia must not be introduced. It is simply not there. What we should make a niyat is that this particular niyaz on that day, say 22nd of Rajab, will be served in the name of Imam Jaffer Sadiq Salawatullah. That's all. There's nothing else to that. It could have been Imam Zainul Abidin tomorrow. It could be Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, because on 25th of Rajab we'll have wafat of Imam Musa ibn Jaffer. So, it can be, you can have that. And I would say that Ashura day we are having sufra of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Sufra means that which you lay down, upon which you place the food for guests to eat or for yourselves to eat. And as far as the menu is concerned, that it must be khiraj and it must be something which is kept there, puri and all, no. Well, that is up to your own taste, but there is nothing like that. Of course, there is a reference somewhere. There are books where particular food which the Prophet liked or which a particular Imam liked most is mentioned. In history it is sometimes mentioned, particular Imam liked a particular food most. For example, for Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam, it is there mentioned that he liked to take rice with milk. Now we do not know whether the rice was cooked separately and then he drank milk, or whether it was given the shape that we have given it, as rice is cooked and then we have a kheer, whatever it is. That is not mentioned. But what is mentioned is that he used to take rice with. And in India today, we see so many people at home in the nights, they take rice separately and they pour milk over it and they eat. It's not kheeraj. They like that way. Many take khichdi with milk and they eat. So that is not to say that it is particularly the same thing as we do eat. However, that is a cultural aspect of it, but it does not make a part of religion. If you understand this, then it is very clear. And therefore, many things that have been introduced together with it, they all go out. All. What is today in your house? Today is sufra, right? The mother says, I can't take any son of mine. Why? Because no males are allowed. From where has it come? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. And then a chitti comes from the house where you have been invited, that any women, any ladies who are not in their, free from their monthly course or period, they must not come. So the ladies who are in their period do not go, because they are not supposed to touch that food which is so sacred, that it is much more sacred than even niyaz of Imam Hussain. They could have come to Imam Bar and eaten even on the day of Ashura, but they cannot eat that sufra. And some ladies who do not know in advance that they will be told this, are told when they are already arrived. So you find poor ladies keeping away from it, or rather those who don't want to declare that they are in period have to declare, otherwise they will incur the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these things are happening in the name of Sharia, and there isn't any source for it anywhere. So this must be known. So when Jamaat says there is a Sufra fund going on, we must know that there is nothing extraordinary except that it is a niyaz which is held in the name of Imam Jaffer Sadiq salawatullah. And I understand that when such niyaz are held, Jamaat arranges for cooking within its own kitchen here down below. And the ladies do come and cook. So request is that please don't put peas into this, 50 peas and 60 peas or whatever. Don't put coins in it and don't put even rings in it. Because it is nothing but bid'ah. It gives a tendency within the minds of many to believe that those things are very sacred. And there is nothing sanctimonious about those things. And there is a danger of anybody swallowing it. You'll have problems. And there might be some other chemical reactions which Kakaji knows better. But with all those things considered, you see, when a metal is cooked in milk and all that, is it not so? There could be something going on. And this will all put problems, additional problems to the consumers. So let us be sane in our doings. That is one thing. Tonight, when we say Imam Musa Kadhim Day or Din, as it is said in our language, what we mean actually is that Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam was born on 7th of Safar. The month of Safar is his month in which he was born. And the Shia world has designated Muharram and Safar for mourning period and not for rejoicing. In Muharram, the time we see that moon of Muharram, the new moon, till 28th or 29th of Safar, and in India and Pakistan, up to 8th of Rabiul Awwal, when we have the last wafat of Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salam, there is no rejoicing. It is not haram, for example, for any family to hold a marriage in month of Safar, but we will not do it. Why we will not do it is because we believe that the only way of revival of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhim ajma'in is to keep this mourning period alive, even if those who do not love Ahlul Bayt don't like it, even if the authorities would like to discourage it, we would always keep it up. But now then there is a member of Ahlul Bayt whose memory as far as his birth is concerned is left out, and that is our 7th Imam. So it was just suggested, not that it is observed all over the world, but it was suggested that since he is the 7th Imam, let us keep his birthday in the 7th month of Islamic calendar on the 7th day. So Rajab is the 7th month of Islamic calendar, and 7th Rajab to commemorate the birth of our 7th Imam. And that we can't call it the birthday of Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, but we can call it Imam Musa Kadhim Day. That is the meaning of tonight's mahfil. Sallu ala Nabi. So, since this is that night, we will shift. We will, inshallah, discuss akhlaqiyat next time. After all, whatever we are discussing is the teaching of our Imams. So we will today pay tribute to himself. And there are 2 or 3 historical aspects I will touch, very important, very interesting, and I hope to finish in time. First of all, let us not forget that the only Imams who had the best of time for propagation of Ahlul Bayt, school of Ahlul Bayt, teachings of Ahlul Bayt, were Imam Muhammad Baqir and Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhim salam. Only two. How did it happen? Because at the time of our 5th Imam, that is Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, Banu Umayyah's influence was greatly challenged by Banu Abbas. And the authority was busy trying to counteract other force which was rising, Banu Abbas. Because they were busy in their own struggle and strife, a school was established by our 5th Imam, where students used to come there and learn from them freely without any restriction, where Imam alayhi salam would take the name and say, this is what Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said, this is what Hassan alayhi salam said, this is what Hussein alayhi salam said. The teachings of Ahlul Bayt were taught freely. Not only that, but new subjects were introduced for the first time because of the growing influence of intellectual exercise. Scholasticism crept in. People became scholars with influence of the Persians and others who came into Arabia. There was a broadening of the horizon. And Imam alayhi salam, for the first time, for example, in that school, which was supposed to be only hadith, Quran, fiqh, he also introduced geography. For the first time, basic mathematics was taught by Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam in that fiqh, in the school. And then came our sixth Imam. By the time our sixth Imam entered into the arena of teaching, there were at least 4,000 students sitting. All came by turn. 4,000 did not sit together. They came in groups, and each group came to learn something else. Ilmul Kalam, that is theology, was promulgated by Imam Jaffer Sadiq, mathematics by him, astronomy by him. He taught them fiqh, usul fiqh, dars Quran, and also rijal, hadith and everything. But what he did was, he created brilliant students as quickly as he could, so that those students would teach others, and that is how he established that madrasa once and for all, which is today known as Fiqh and Maktab of Jaffer Sadiq salawatullah salam. In this era, there came a time when in the mosque of the Prophet, that is in Medina, Sahaba used to stand up, Sahaba of Imam I say, used to stand up openly and say, this is what Ahlul Bayt teach. Example, talaq. In the fiqh of Ahlul Sunnah, one can give 3 talaq together in one sitting. Talaq, talaq, talaq. 3 together. Now you know what the meaning of 3 together is. If somebody divorces 3 times, he cannot take his wife back. Remember that. Till she marries another man. But with no precondition, that you marry her and then leave her and then I will marry her. No. He might decide not to divorce. The matter is over. But in the fiqh of Ahlul Bayt, you can't have 3 divorces in one sitting. It's just impossible. And this is something which even the Western world is always trying to attack Islam with. That in Islam a woman has got no value whatsoever. Just say talaq, 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 and 3 times it is divorce. It is not so. The divorce occurs first time. Then there is a waiting period during which you can take your wife back without nikah during the waiting period. If the waiting period is over, then if you wish to marry her again, there can be nikah and you can take her back. If you divorce her again, then that will be second divorce. And then there will be waiting period. After that, if you take her again into marriage, that will be the 3rd time. And if you divorce her now, then you can't take her back. That is talaq bain. This is according to the fiqh of Ahlul Bayt. And this was promulgated in Kufa and in Medina and Mecca openly by all those who stood up, leaning against the pillars of Masjid Nabawi to say that this is talaq according to Islam and this is what Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam has said. And there was no one who could come up to say, why do you talk of Jaffer Sadiq? Because the time was a time of ease. But when Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam was given poison and his shahadat and his martyrdom took place, there was a problem. All the Shias are united more or less up to Imam Jaffer Sadiq. The problem begins from Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam, whom we have assembled to remember tonight. What happened was that the eldest son of Imam whose name was Ismail, who used to sit next to our Imam, and was a very pious, very upright and righteous young man. All those who came to meet our sixth Imam, they saw the eldest son Ismail sitting next to him. Listen to this carefully. It won't take more than 10-15 minutes before I complete. And they presumed that such a pious young man must be the successor of sixth Imam. So when they went back to Egypt, to Syria, they used to tell that we have seen a young son of Imam next to him, very pious, virtuous, and we believe he is going to be the next. But it so transpired that Ismail died while Imam Jaffer Sadiq was still alive. He died 3 or 4 miles away from Medina. And when Imam alayhi salam was informed that Ismail has died, Imam alayhi salam traveled to that place. And he himself stood by to see that kafan, shroud, and ghusl, washing of the body, and janazah was prepared under his own supervision. And then it is written by all, even Ismaili authors today accept this. Even Ivanov, the Russian Ismaili authority of 20th century, he's a Russian man. Ivanov has also accepted this, that it so happened that Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam brought the janazah and the coffin to Medina, and taking Jannatul Baqi, the route of Jannatul Baqi, he asked the people to stop 3 times on the way. He told them, just wait, bring down the coffin. The coffin was brought down, the coffin's lid was lifted, and Imam alayhi salam would say, is he dead? Is he dead? Just open the shroud, I would like to see. And the shroud was being opened. And again Imam alayhi salam saw, and many people saw, and Imam alayhi salam said, yes, Ismail is dead. And again it was lifted. It happened 3 times before finally the coffin was brought to Jannatul Baqi. Historians wrote that Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam was so shocked with the death of his beloved son that he lost the balance of his mind. But the fact is that Imam does not lose the balance of his mind. The fact was to prove demonstratively 3 times that all the people be witness that Ismail is dead. But tomorrow don't come out with stories that Ismail disappeared, as it is said today. He is dead and he is being buried. But when I was myself reading this history, I could not comprehend it the way I comprehended in 1956. When the then Imam of Ismailis, Aga Khan, Sir Sultan Muhammad Shah, died, and before even his will was read, when the world did not know who he had appointed as his successor, in this 20th century, when communication is so easy, when telephones could have been contacted by telephone, you could have contacted each other, when cables go so fast, at that particular time in 1956, the Ismailis who live in Damascus announced that Ali Khan was the Imam. And it took Ali Khan to fly and go to Damascus to tell them that, Baba, I am not your Imam. My father has appointed my son as your Imam. In the 20th century. Consider those days. This has been reported by Slater, who wrote that book, Ali. You can always refer to that. Now, if this can happen here, in those days, people who traveled for months to reach Medina, they already presumed that Ismail was the Imam. And it is for this reason that a firqa or a sect started called Ismailis. They belong to Ismail ibn Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and they believe that after the 6th Imam, Ismail was the true Imam. And then these Ismailis, they progressed, and the Fatimid Empire in Egypt is an offshoot of Ismailism. And it is true to say that Al-Azhar University of Egypt, maybe in the hands of anyone today, was actually founded and established by Shia Ismailis. There's no doubt about it. By Ismaili Shias. They are the founders of this. Well, they progressed, and when they reached 17th Imam and 18th Imam, from there they changed direction. Two brothers claimed imamat, one Nizar and one Musta'li. Those who followed Musta'li are called Musta'liyin, or what we call them Bohra brothers today. Bohra brothers are Ismailis. Bohra community is an Ismaili Shia community. But they are Musta'liyin, means they follow Imam Musta'li. And Aga Khani Ismailis, they are also Ismailis, but they are Nizaris because they follow Imam Nizar according to them. So these two brothers, from there they separated. What happened with Bohras, what happened with Musta'liyin is that from 18th Imam to 19th, 20th, 21st, as they reached 21st, Imamat stopped. And they believe that the 21st Imam has gone into seclusion. And now that they have these Maulanas and His Holiness and whatever they call them, Sayyidanas, they are not Aimma or Imam of Bohras, they are called Da'i or Du'at, means those who call unto Imam. They are the representatives of Imam, not the Imam. But in Aga Khani and Ismaili, Nizari sect, Imamat continues, and today they have the 49th Imam, who they consider to be the Imam. So from there it started. And there was only one group which adhered to the wasiyyah of Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq alayhi salam when he said that after me the Imam is the son in the cradle whose name is Musa, and we are the only one who have stuck to that wasiyyah of Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq alayhi salam. And that is why Imam Musa ibn Ja'far is an important Imam in the development of Shia Ithna Ashari. Very important. I remember that he was so important that certain Shias who are not Ithna Asharis, who went to Iraq for ziyarah, they used to come to Kazmain to abuse Imam Musa Kazim. Just to abuse. To come there and talk nonsense about Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. And Agha Abul Hasan Isfahani, rahmatullah alayhi, our mujtahid, when he came to know that this is happening, he wrote a letter to Bombay in those days, to their da'i, saying that if I hear now that your followers come to Kazmain to abuse the Imam, I shall issue an ordinance to stop them from entering Iraq. They can come for ziyarah. We don't say that they must believe. They may not believe. That is freedom. But there is no freedom for abuse. If you wish to come and abuse our seventh Imam, we won't allow you to come to Karbala even. And that is how it was stopped. So that is the reason why we are the only ones. And the time of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far was such that Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, and all those philosophers had already been translated into Arabic. And with Greek thinking, Greek mythology came in. And so many things entered into Islam, for which Imam Musa ibn Ja'far had to work so hard to counteract intellectually. Not only that, the Abbasid Empire reached its zenith at the time of Harun and Mamun Rashid. And Harun Rashid is the time of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. Even for the believers it became difficult. For example, one man writes a letter, says, Ya Ibn Rasulillah, there is some dispute about how to do wudu. Will you please write for me exactly step by step as to how wudu should be done? Imam al-Islam writes that when you want to do wudu, first wash your hands, then wash your mouth on your face, and then wash your hand like this. Actually, he described this way, the way Ahlus Sunnah do. And then wash your head for masa, and around the ears, and then wash your feet. When this man read this from Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, he could not believe his eyes. He thought that, has it all changed now? But that was the order of Imam. And for 3-4 days after that, he went on doing wudu the way it was described. And the 5th day, a letter reached, where Imam al-Islam says, my brother, now stop the way you were doing it, and the right way is this, the way that we are doing it, taught by Ahlul Bayt. So he couldn't understand. Later on it transpired that somebody had already told Harun that this minister of yours is Shia. And if you want to know whether he's a Shia or not, set upon him spies to see how he does wudu. In those 4 days, there were spies in the house to look at him how he was doing wudu. And in those 4 days, he did wudu the way they did it, and he was saved. Imam al-Islam said, we gave it to save your life, but this is how you must do wudu. It proves that those were the most uneasy days when Imam al-Islam had to protect the lives of men. In spite of that, this is the Imam who lived in the prison, or who was sent to prison for not 1 year or 2 years. If you go to Baghdad sometimes for ziyarat, do ask for those who arrange for your tour to show you those places which are known as the prisons of Imam Musa ibn Jaffer. Imam al-Islam was in the prison for not 1 or 2 years, but 14 years. 1-4. And the prison is underground prison, in a sense that we call it sardab, or what you call basement. Dark with small windows, or whatever you may call openings for ventilation up there. Sometimes it was not possible even to know whether it was day or night. 14 years, not on succession. 14 years, sometimes after 2 years being released and again being sent. This is how Imam spent 14 years of his life in the prison. In spite of that, there is a contribution of Imam Musa ibn Jaffer which is worth considering. One thing last is that he saved the concept of Tawheed, my dear friends. Muslim, I'm talking to Muslims. I'm not talking to kuffar. You will be surprised that after having left the door of Ahlul Bayt and the gate of Ahlul Bayt and the threshold of Ahlul Bayt, Muslims today have a corrupt view of God. It might surprise you, but there is a book which says, quite authentic book which is supposed to be an authentic Muslim book of tradition, says that Allah sits on Arsh, the throne, but the throne is small and he is so fat. Who? Allah. That the seat is small and he is spread over it, four fingers this side and four fingers that side. That means he's so fat that doesn't fit in. And whenever he sits on that throne, there is always a crickling sound and noise. It might break today, if not today, tomorrow. Seems like a fantasy, but it is true. Written by them. And after this deluge of Hazrat Nuh, that is Tufan Nuh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wept and wept and wept for the destruction which had taken place. He wept so much that he had to get treated for his eyes. On the day of judgment, when Allah will address the hell and say, is it enough? And the Jahan, Halim tala'ati, are you filled up? Jahannam will say, Hal mim mazid. Oh Allah, is there anything more still I can consume? Allah will say, no, I don't have anything. You better take my own foot, and he will put his own leg into it. It makes you laugh, but it is there. And when the leg of Allah will go into hell, Jahannam will say, enough, enough, I am now contented. On every night of Thursday, Allah descends upon the rooftop of the mosques, sitting on his donkey, and offers mercy and pardon for all those who wish to have. I hope he comes to Stanmore to give us pardon and to arrange for the bank loan to be repaid soon. But this is what they have written. And in fact, in certain places, they themselves have reported that certain mullahs used to go to the rooftop and keep hay and grass ready, so that in the middle of the night, any time, when Allah comes with his donkey, and if the donkey is hungry, there must be enough to feed him. And much more than this. Quran says, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. And on the day of judgment, there shall be some fresh faces looking to the mercy of Allah. Look at tafsir written by them, and you'll find all of them say that Allah will come and shake hands with all those and say, you are my supporters, you are my supporters. Congratulations, now enter the heaven. This is how they portray. How old he will be, Allah himself knows. But there have been dreams. People have dreamt Allah. People have claimed that Allah has kept his hand on the shoulder. And the coldness of hand on the shoulder was felt in the heart. Everything is there. This is on one side. On the other side, there is nothing but a pure conception of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was defended by Imam Musa ibn Jaffer salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He said, this cannot be possible, because the moment you say that he sits on the throne, you have limited him to a particular space. That which is here is not there. And therefore to say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here means he is not there, while actually he is everywhere. And that is why you can't limit him to any particular place. To subscribe any physical existence is to limit. Mawla says in Nahju Balagha, whoever says where is he tries to limit him. Whoever points towards him limits him. If your son asks you where is Mullah, and if you just point towards me, that means you have limited him vision to me, and you are telling him that he is there and he is not anywhere else. If you say Allah is there, that means he is not here. That is why when Imam Jaffer Sadiq al-Islam was asked, and also Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, that if you say so, then why do you pray, and when you pray you lift your hand like this? All of us do, isn't it? It means he is there. Imam al-Islam said, the lifting of the hand this way does not mean that he is there. This is a gesture of those who beg. This is simply a gesture of those who beg. It is the begging posture. It doesn't mean that he is there up and he is not down below. It is for this reason that impeccable concept of existence of Allah and immaculate concept was for the first time promulgated, where there is no physical existence and there is no possibility of he being seen, neither here nor there. It isn't anything to be seen. Okay. And he is the first to openly say, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, when they started believing that whatever we do is by God's destiny. If you killed, Allah willed it and you killed. If you drink, Allah willed it and you drink. What we in Zanzibar, in Mombasa, in Malindi, and Lamu we used to hear, in Kiswahili, which we don't hear here, but we used to hear, anything that happens, nimajaliwa bana. Nimajaliwa means it happened so, it has been written in my destiny that I should suffer this. Baba, what has happened to you? Why do you drink? Nimejaliwa na kunywa tu. It has been written and I drink. So that fatalism is not there in Islam, but today it is being imputed to Islam. Imam alayhi salam at that particular time has answered this. When Imam Abu Hanifa asked him, and what a lovely piece of literary or rather historical incident this is, that Imam Abu Hanifa comes to meet Imam Jaffer Sadiq because he is a student of Imam Jaffer Sadiq. Don't forget that. He has said, "Lawla sanatan lahalakan Nu'man." If there were no 2 years of tutelage with Imam Jaffer Sadiq, I would have been perished and destroyed. He came to Imam al-Islam. He saw a young boy sitting outside the house of Imam playing with a small goat, trying to feed it. And when Imam Abu Hanifa reached there, he saw the boy playing with the head of that goat, trying to make it do sajda, and saying, "Do sajda, prostrate before your creator and the one who created me. Prostrate." So he found it very amusing, and he sat down. And he forgot that he wanted to get into the house to Imam. He asked him, he said, "My son, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to tell this goat, this animal, to do sajda. His creator and my creator." He said, "May I ask you one thing? If I wanted to relieve myself, urine, because he felt himself, he said, if I wanted to, is there any place I can go here, and will you tell me how I should find a suitable place to relieve myself?" And the boy looked at the old man and said, "Look, if you want to relieve yourself, do not sit facing Qibla, and do not sit while the Qibla is at your back. Do not sit when the wind is blowing. Do not urinate at the tree which bears fruit. And do not stand to urinate. Sit down properly and see that don't relieve on the flowing or stagnant water. And see that no people pass. Do not do this while people pass. Sit in a corner where nobody sees you so that there is satri auratain, and then relieve yourself." So he forgot about relieving himself. It was something which he would never expect from a young boy. So many masail of fiqh were today related by one young child. So immediately he realized that this is no ordinary boy. So he asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "I am Musa ibn Jaffer. I am Musa ibn Jaffer." That was Imam Musa ibn Jaffer, Qadi. "I am the son of Jaffer Sadiq. You want to go inside and see my father? Go." He said, "Before I go there, I would like to ask you." An old man is asking a question to him. It proves, if I were to ask a question to any of my young children here, I would not ask such questions unless I knew that there was something extraordinary about this child. He's a prodigy or he's a genius. He sat down and he said, "What do you say about destiny? Does man commit a sin by his free will or Allah forces him?" This is a crucial thing even today. "Ash-sharru wal khayru kulluhu min indillah." Don't you hear that? They say this, "Ash-sharru wal khayr min indillah." Everything good and bad comes from Allah. Even today they say that. So Imam alayhi salam left that animal, that goat, free, and sat and said, "Sheikh, there cannot be anything but 3 circumstances. Either Allah forces us to do it, or we do it of our free will, or it is 50-50. Half of it is done by free will and half of it is done by His force. Is there any fourth alternative?" He said, "No. Either you do it yourselves, or He compels you to do it, or you two share it." He said, "Yes." He said, "Then, if He compels, then there should be no Jahannam, because it is beyond any standard of justice that one compels someone to do something bad and then punishes him. So there should be no punishment. Do you believe?" He said, "Punishment is there." He said, "Then what sort of punishment is there? If He shares with you, half of it is done by Him and half of it is done by yourself, then even the punishment must be shared. That means for some time you must go to Jahannam, and for some time Allah Himself." He said, "Astaghfirullah, this cannot happen." He said, "Then the only alternative left is that what you are doing is from your own free will." For the first time, he said that either the creation has created itself, or somebody else has created. It's a philosophical concept. Either the creation has created itself, or the creator has created. If you believe that the creation has created itself, then you presuppose existence. Try to understand what I say. If you say the creation has created itself, that means it was there even before creation. This is absurd. You can't presuppose existence of a creator where it's going to create itself. And this is what Imam alayhi salam said before the scientists and those thinkers and philosophers who assembled there. And they all kept quiet because there was no answer to this. If you say that the creation has created itself, you will presuppose the existence before even creation, which is absurd. You will have to believe that there has been a creator. And it's for this reason that Imam Musa ibn Jaffer alayhi salam goes down in history as one who brought in the awakening in minds. And he presented the school of Ahlul Bayt in the most modern manner, which has been even accepted today. Unfortunately, the books that are being written are only written for mu'jizas and things like that. Analytic treatment of this subject with comparative contemporary history of Imam alayhi salam is not dealt in a book form. We find these scattered. One has to read nearly 7 to 8, 9 different books to be able to come to the conclusion which I have presented before you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.